Good morning. Can you take your seats, please? Good morning. Can we take our seats, please? Morning, ladies and gentlemen from the media. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I know media conferences aren't that popular anymore. I am amazed by the attendance here today, and I thank you all for being here. My name is Dirk. If you have any queries, any questions, if I can help you in any way possible, don't hesitate to call me, to WhatsApp me. I am there for you, and I will support you as far as I can. I'm not going to bore you for very long with my own ideas, my own discussions. Our first speaker this morning will be the well-known farm murder activist Petrus Situ. Petrus.
Thank you. Goeiemôre. Good morning. Ke a leboha. Njabulelo. Sorry, the President of South Africa is calling me now. He wants me to join ANC account. Okay, can you please answer for the President? Okay. Now, South Africans, now we are facing difficult times here in our country, whereby I started activism 2018 to protect our food security, to protect our farmers and farm workers, to protect stock theft here in our country. Now, I have seen here in our country, there's no one. I'm talking about the political parties, the organization. I will call their names, AfriForum. I'll call their names, political parties, DA, Freedom From Class. They can't help our farmers and farm workers. As I said to you, that all races. Now, I've been through from 2018 till now to challenge this government that let's protect our country. Our country is going to be like Zimbabwe one of the day. And whereby the Minister of Police, he chose me to be in the National Rural Safety Tax Team to make sure that we protect all South African citizens. I remember last year when the president of a Democratic Alliance, he called me. We've got a press conference via Zoom. He said to me that, please, we need you, you must join the Democratic Alliance. But when I sit down and look the Democratic Alliance where they operate, they can't help South Africa. And John Steysen, as a Democratic leader of a DA, he chose Ian Cameroon. If you remember Ian Cameroon, he's a white guy. Remember the time when he shouted to Bigicele, shut up. Now, that shut up, he makes sure that Ian Cameroon, he go to Parliament. He's one of the top list to the Democratic Alliance. Now, I've seen that some of the organization, they choose color. And I pray to God that this country needs a leader. That leader, it makes sure that he protects all the South Africans. He creates jobs. He protects black, white, Indian, colored. Now, today, officially, I support and I join independent candidate, Louis Liebenberg. You will see the South Africans, if we hold hands together and we vote Louis Liebenberg, let me tell you, no crime, no farm killing or farm workers killing, no stock theft. We make sure that zero crime under leadership of Louis Liebenberg as independent candidate. I thank you. Bye, donkey. My t-shirt alsjeblieft. Now, I officially wear this T-shirt, and I hope millions of South Africans, they will wear this T-shirt. They will vote for independent candidate Louis Liebenberg, 29 May 2024. Let me tell you, Ziakala. Ziakala. Amanda, viva Louis Liebenberg, viva! Down with those who kill our farmers and farmmakers. Down, viva!
Thank you, Petrus. Most parties tend to try to help people to fix potholes, to hand out food parcels as soon as there's an election. That is not what Louis Liebenberg is doing. He's been supportive of those who battle the poor, the downtrodden for a long, long time. I'd like to introduce Mr. André Cronje to tell you a bit more about this. Just another little point, those of you who need a bathroom, through the back door on your right-hand side.
Thanks, Dirk. Good morning, everybody. My name is André Cronje, and I'm working for Mr. Louis Liebenberg on his social programs. What we do is we go to squatter camps. In our area, we look for homeless people, people that suffers, people that's jobless, and we try to give them upliftment. What we do is we take them from the streets, we give them work, we give them food every day, we give them housing, and we look after them. Currently, the people that pitch up every day is between 15 and 20 people in Rhodesfield, in Kempton Park, but we reach far further out, even towards Pyramid on the northern side of Pretoria, where there's a squatter camp. In Pretoria, there's a couple that we look after. We see the need, and Mr. Louis Liebenberg don't want to see people suffer, and that's why we do what we do. In our area, we fix potholes, we make the environment look good by cleaning it up and fixing it as far as we can. And for that, I will always vote for Mr. Louis Liebenberg. Thank you.
Good morning. How are you all doing? Thank you so much for joining us on this very special day. It's an absolute honor and a privilege. I am the director at Die Waarheid Radiostasie, which is an Afrikaans radio station based in Kempton Park, and very excited, obviously, about giving people real information in real time. That is really what we strive for. So it's an absolute honor. I want to thank you all for being here, the press, the media. Thank you for coming out today and just for being here and spending this morning with us. So as you all know, and as you would have seen on social media as well, we hosted Louis Leierberaad. So this was hosted in Pretoria at the Times Square Hotel, and it was an absolutely prestigious event where people from all walks of life came forth from different cultures, different races, and we just had an amazing day about leadership and what we need in this country. And in my opinion, this was absolutely revolutionary, because what happened that day is something that couldn't be put into words. If you were not there, if you did not experience and feel all the excitement and everything happening in that room, then it's really hard to tell people what it was all about and what really happened in the hearts and the minds of so many people there on the day. And I did a speech, particularly it was quite long. I'm not going to do the whole speech, but I want to share with you just the message that I shared with the ladies at this Leierberaad. So what we did is we spoke about, when are women, I actually went the anti-feminist route, and a lot of people obviously think, well, what is this about? We're in 2024, and feminism is such a very strong word that we use today and that people actually strive for. And I spoke about, just getting back to basics in terms of knowing where we all fit in as a society, as a country, and as a collective leadership for that matter. So I spoke about women just really trying to do everything that men do, so much so that women don't even know what they are supposed to do anymore. And I think this was quite a profound message on this morning, because it was all about, what are you going to do? How do you support the person next to you, whether that be a male or female, doesn't matter who, to actually fulfill their own role? And the message was actually very well received by people. And they said, yeah, you gave us something to think about, because we all have a specific role. And I think it really comes to show the importance of something like today as well, and what Louis Liebenberg as an individual and an independent candidate stands for. Because for him, it's all about, what is your place in society? And the fact that every single person sitting in this room and every single person out there in our country has a significant role to play. And that was basically the message. Just saying, when are we as women, once again, just going to, get out there and take hands with those women next to us as well? Because so often we share the message that, especially from a feminist point of view, that men tend to, kind of down talk on women, if I can use that word. And it was all about, how are you going to make sure that you are significant in this time, and where you find yourself as an individual, as a woman in 2024, and how are you going to be the best version of the you that you can be? And I think this is not just for Afrikaans-speaking people. Obviously, my message on the day was in Afrikaans, and I spoke specifically about the role of the woman in leadership. And I think this goes cross-culture, cross-race, breed, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, if we all know that we do have a place in our beautiful country, what can we do? How can we change it for the better? And so, I hope that there's people that share this sentiment. Maybe you don't. But for me, I'm not in competition with anyone. I don't feel like I need to be in competition with the woman next to me. I feel that we all have a significant role to play, and that there is a place for everyone in our beautiful community. Thank you. My name's Elise. I work for... Hi, good day, everybody. My name's Elise. I work for Louis at the offices on a consulting basis. So basically what I do there is I help people with spiritual, mental, emotional, and, going through their healing process, because there's a lot of situations that happens where people come from different stories, and Louis opened the avenue for people to come through and express themselves, make themselves better people, in the sense of helping themselves find the true person who God created them to be. So what I basically do there is I help them with spiritual healing, emotional healing, and also with talking about their story, and help them to get to be the people or the person that they were created to be. So I'm definitely going to vote for Louis, because he's a person that's got a heart for people. He loves people, and he wants people to be well, emotionally, spiritually, and also physically. So if you can all join me in this quest that we've got with him, to help him to get to be the person that God created him to be. So he's also got a heart for changing things and helping people, and I think it's a good thing that we all join him in his quest
for where he's going. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elise. Without any further ado, let me introduce Zen, one of my precious colleagues. I think you will enjoy his speech. Zen.
Good day, everyone. Happy to see everyone here. So my name is Zen, and I've been working for Louis Liebenberg for the past 3 years. I want to give you guys just a short testimony because I feel like it's important to go back on the references and where it all started. So I met Louis Liebenberg about 3 years ago, back in 2021, where we were doing a marketing campaign. And I was lucky enough to be scouted by Louis Liebenberg to come and work for one of his companies in Johannesburg. And this is where the testimony comes in, because obviously I started working for the company. I was made permanent. So last year, I had this warm feeling in my heart that I should go to the USA to go and do ministry. So it's been something that I've been volunteering to do, or that I've been doing for the past 4 years. So my first time traveling to the USA was when I was 18, 19 years old, and I was working in Cleveland where I did child ministry. And last year I had this warm feeling in my heart, and I was like, I really need to go to the USA. And I didn't understand the purpose at the time. I was like, God, why do I need to go to the USA if I have a permanent job and I'm really happy? And I remember just sitting on my bed, and I had this warm feeling that I need to go. And I know God was talking to me at the time. And I obviously didn't know how to break the news to my boss, asking him to advance me this opportunity to go to the US. And I was contemplating, because this opportunity is obviously just temporary. It was only a 3-month program, and I had a full-time job at the time. So I was praying, and when I break the news to my director and to my boss that I want him to advance me this opportunity to go to the USA for 3 months to go into ministry, and this is what I told them. Before even going up to them, I already got the calling that my boss is going to say yes to the opportunity. Now imagine you're full-time employed, you guys that works for big company, SCBC, Media 24. Like, just imagine asking your boss for 3 months leave to go and work for the company. Like, just think yourself in, what would your boss say? You want to go to another country to go and work for another company. For 3 months. So obviously, before I approached my boss, I already knew, because the calling was already there. So I knew that they were going to say yes. I prepared myself. I was praying about it. And the next day, I went to the office and I talked to my director. And I was like, I have this warm calling that I need to go to the USA. And I obviously gave background why I feel like I should be there. It's been something I've been doing for the past 4 or 5 years, and I feel like this is where God wants me right now. And it was an immediate yes, without a doubt. It was an immediate yes. And when I was in the USA, I was obviously doing the ministry program there. But what stood out to me, I still didn't understand why the calling was so big at the time for me to actually be in the USA. And while I was doing the ministry program, I remember as the program was coming to an end, one of my friends that was one of the international students that I was doing the program with was he called me into the boardroom, and funny enough, it was around 2 a.m. in the morning, and he called me into the boardroom, and it was like, there's something I need to tell you. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was about to leave back to Mexico in a few hours because it was 2 a.m., and he had a flight back, I think, at like 10 a.m. in the morning. And he called me into the boardroom, and now we're sitting and talking, having coffee, and he was like, there's something I need to tell you. And I was like, yes, all ears. And it was like, he had a conversation with God 3 months ago, telling God that he's going to give it this 3 months and he's going to take his own life. He's had it with depression, he's had it with anxiety, and he told God he's going to give it this 3 months and he's going to take his life. If this program is not for him, then it means his life on earth must come to an end. And the beautiful part about it, he told me that I changed his life completely. And he told me that I was that person in his life for the past 3 months that made him rethink about his life decision and his life choices. And I immediately understood the calling I had 3 months ago, why God wanted me there. It was to save a life. And I feel like that's the purpose of Louis Liebenberg. He's here to save help. He's here to save lives. He's here to help people. And sometimes we don't understand the purpose of what someone is doing until we're experiencing it ourselves. So that's just my testimony. I'm from a small town called Port Nollet in the Northern Cape. And this is also where Louis is from. He was staying there. So for me, it's a big honor to be from a small town. I was talking to the 2 ladies from SABC earlier, and I was like, you know, coming from a small town, you always would just see like all these, you know, big broadcasting shows on TV, and it will be such a wow. But I don't know, do you guys actually realize how big it is to work for these big broadcasting companies? Now, obviously, if you come from a small town, it's only stuff that you can dream of. So I've been exposed to this now. Louis Liebenberg gave me this opportunity. So my inner child is obviously happy about the opportunity he created for me, and he's still busy creating. So this is just my testimony, and I would definitely say that he has a heart for people. He really does have a heart for people. Like I said, I come from a small town, and he's willing to help everywhere. Small town, big cities, young people, adults. His heart is big. So this is just my testimony, and if we can just all stand together and gracefully vote for a better country, a better change, and that would definitely be Louis Liebenberg. Thank you.
Thank you, Zen. Allow me to introduce a good friend of mine, General Isak van Zyl. He is the leader of the Boere Legend community organization in Middelburg, Mpumalanga, and he will tell you a bit more about his work and his association with Mr. Liebenberg.
Goedemiddag allemaal. I started the Boere Legioen back in 2016. Toe ek die behoefte gesien het onder die wit Afrikaans sprekende gemeenskap, dat daar 'n kollektiewe organisasie moet wees om 'n kollektiewe invloed uit te oefen en 'n positiewe verandering teweeg te bring, juis in die lig dat the Afrikaner community is so divided by nature. And we know why the Boere community is divided, because there's lots of churches and lots of politics since 1652. And the purpose of die Boere Legioen is juis om eenheid onder die Afrikaner gelede te bring. En in my reis met die Boere Legioen van 2016 af, het ek net al meer en meer ervaar hoe burgerorganisasies, politieke partye, burgerregte organisasies, kerkgroeperinge uit mekaar uitdryf, met uiteenlopende standpunte en niemand vertrou niemand nie. 2020, juis as gevolg van die druk wat ek ervaar het in die Boere Legioen, het ek eendag voor die spar gesit, my vrou het ingegaan en ek het 'n hartaanval gekry, een van 12 hartaanvalle vir die volgende 6 maande. Ek was in en uit in die hospitaal en op die 6de Julie 2020, toe kry ek 'n 7-vat hartomleidingsoperasie in die Unitas Hospitaal. En omdat ek nie 'n mediese fonds gehad het nie, was ek in die staatshospitale in en in die staatshospitale uit, in die COVID-tyd, in die klimaks van die COVID dispensation. Ek het letterlik mense rondom my sien doodgaan. Ek het letterlik gesien hoe mense inkom in 'n saal die volgende oggend 'n laken oor die kop uitgaan. En op die 6de Julie is ek in die Unitas Hospitaal geopereer, nadat al die fondse betaal is. Ons het na die tyd 'n R870.000 se rekening gekry, ek het nie 'n mediese fonds gehad nie. En een van die bydraers, die grootste bydraers, was Louis Liebenberg. Ek het hom leer ken omtrent 'n jaar, 2 jaar later, het hy met my kontak gemaak, nadat hy 'n video gemaak het, en gesê het, ek probeer vir generaal Isak van Sail in die hande kry. Ek het vir hom boodskappe gelos en blykbaar stel hy nie belang om met my te gesels nie. Ek het te hore gekom daarvan en ek het hom geskakel en gesê, maar ek was hier eers bewus van jou bestaan en nou sê jy vir my, jy probeer my kontak maak. En hy eerste woorde wat hy vir my gesê het, hoe gaan dit met jou hart? En toe sê ek, dit gaan baie goed. Ek was nie bewus daarvan dat hy 'n contributor was nie en 'n bydraer was tot die mediese koste nie. Ek het 'n afspraak met hom gemaak en ek het hom gaan sien. Dus 2 jaar terug. En sedertdien is ek en Louis Liebenberg vriende. Het hy ons gehelp om ons strukture te vestig in die dorpe, waar ons strukture moet hê, want ons wil graag die kommandostrukture weer hervestig hê. Al is dit dan op privaat kostes gedoen. Want ons weet dat die kommandostelsel was deel van die SANW vroeër jare en dis om een of ander rede wat nog onbekend is aan my, het hulle deur die sluiting van die kommandos, het hulle 'n leemte gelaat in die landelike gebiede en ook in die dorpsgebiede, wat misdaadvoorkoming en die bestryding van misdaad aanbetref. En sedert 2 jaar terug wat ek met Louis Liebenberg aan mekaar begin loop het, when we started to walk the road together, het ons ligjare gevorder om ons strukture binne in ons historiese dorpe gevestig te kry, waar die mense 'n baie belangrike rol speel in die voorkoming van misdaad en die bestryding van misdaad. Ons uitgangspunt is dat waar die polisie nie kan bykom nie, we know that state resources are limited the past 30 years. Jy kan dit net sien in die gesondheidsdienste, you can see it in the health services. Government health care is only able to provide a basic health care. Dieselfde die polisiediens geword die laaste tyd. Hy kan net 'n basiese diens lewer. Daarom is dit belangrik dat gemeenskappe sterk word, opgelei word om misdaad head-on aan te vat. To get rid of crime in our towns, in our cities. En toe Louis gesê het, hy gaan politiek toe, was ek een van die eerste organisasies en ek wil amper sê, ons is een van bitter min Afrikaner boereorganisasies, wat gesê het, ons staan saam met Louis Liebenberg. Want hy is die enigste ou wat 'n visie het, wat 'n alles omvattende plan het, en wat daarop ingestel is, op die mens, en nie op sy eie sak nie. Daar waar hy loop, daar waar hy werk, daar waar ek hom sien beweeg, gee hy om. Hy is die enigste persoon wat by 'n straatsmou sal gaan stop en vir hom vra, wat het jy nodig? En dit het ek in my eie oë gesien. And I am of the opinion that Louis Liebenberg is playing a role to bring communities together. Real people. He's a real person that can bring communities together. In die laaste 30 jaar het ek politiek gesien. Ek het leewoorde gehoor en ek het leebeloftes gehoor. Ek het nie gesien dat gemeenskappe bymekaar gebring word nie. Ek het nie gesien dat identiteit gevestig word nie van verskillende gemeenskappe en binne in hulle bepaalde identiteit daar samewerking is nie. En ek sien dit gebeur, en ek sien dat Louis Liebenberg Independent met sy samewerking met die MK-party van oud-president Jacob Zuma, dat die samewerking met die Khoisan, wat die indigenous groepering in die land is, die oudste mense in die land is, die eerste mense in die land is, dat daar 'n sterk verhouding ontwikkel. En in die proses word daar 'n sterk verhouding gevestig tussen die Khoisan, die Zulu nasie, verskillende ander nasies en die boere nasie wat tradisioneel, remember, they were traditional enemies. Historic enemies. And this is the place with Louis Liebenberg where we can find each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Isak. I'm sure most of you came to hear the big man himself speak, so I'll introduce him immediately, Mr. Louis Liebenberg.
Good morning, everybody. What a wonderful day. South Africans are so blessed that we can come up to Johannesburg. And in the morning, I've been in Cape Town, and last night, I've been in Port Nolloth. So I traveled, and all people are good everywhere. Wherever you see people, and you smile, and they smile back, and they greet back. So I'd like us to first of all say hi. How's it? Ek is 'n lekker ouetjie, but a lot of people obviously doubted that when I said I want to go into politics, does it make any sense? You fail at business every now and again, it seems. People are criticizing you from all over. You run from pillar to post. It seems like you're a sort of a chameleon. And you are sort of a populist at the same time. You listen to what Julius says, and then you go and tap into what John Steenhuisen says, and you try and copy them all. And that's exactly where people don't understand me. I'd like to tell you just a brief story. When I was a child, first of all, my father was a civil engineer, and then he became a pastor at the age of 37. And therefore, I traveled a lot, and I stayed in 37 houses during the time that I was at school. One of the things, obviously, is that you don't make mates that easily. Sometimes I was in a school for a month, sometimes for 2 months. There was only one stable period in my life, and that was when I was at Port Nolloth in Namakwaland, where my father became a pastor. He felt this calling to go to this place where there was only 62 people in the school, in the primary school. In the high school in Springbok, there was a bit more, but I was only there for 3.5 years. Then I came to Gauteng. My brother became the head boy at a school in Dr. Malan. The principal didn't like him, so 2 years later, I was not well received. In fact, we had a lot of fights. I'm a singer, so I started singing opera with Professor Werner Nel. I studied law. Initially, I also wanted to go to Wits, study civil engineering. I was friends with F.W. de Klerk's son, Jan. He worked for me for a while. And I traveled with Marika de Klerk. I traveled the country with Marietta Martins, that is a well-known Christian writer. Very religious and very fundamentalist type of person. Little would I know that I would not be fundamentalist at all later in my life. In our house, we didn't know racism in Namakwaland as such. That was the place where I was most happy. And that was also the place where I went when my first wife, with whom I have two beautiful daughters of 38 and 36. The eldest one a psychologist and also a singer, and the second one is a teacher. She used to be here in Pretoria at Menlo Park, but she's now in Plettenberg Bay. That family unit was broken when she left me for another man. Now, one of the things about Afrikaner people, I don't need to tell you guys that, is that we got more of an ego. We have an ego bigger than a house. Our dominance factor is very high. So when you put us under pressure, we become very difficult. Shout, scream, be loud, whatever the case may be. And I inherited all those bad characteristics from my father. Because I remember distinctly when we came, for example, to a garage wanting to put in petrol, he would say to the guy, and maybe you can recall some of this treatment. I don't see people, I only see young people in this forum, yeah. But you can recall that Afrikaans people spoke down on other people. They were like, Kombel, Magogo, volop, die baas is haastig. But then, about 2 or 3 kilometers away from that, my father would drive past the squatter camp, and I would see a tear in his eyes. I think that's the contrast that a person coming from an apartheid era experienced in a religious house like mine, where the Holy Spirit is speaking to you about the apartheid, about the way that you deal with other people that is less fortunate than yourself, that is being discriminated upon, that live in squatter camps while you have water and electricity from Eskom, and Eskom only prepared this country for 6 million white people. That is the truth, and now we wonder why Eskom is falling apart, and we blame the ANC, we blame all sorts of economic realities, but the truth is that this country was built by Afrikaans people, for Afrikaans people, and yes, we made peace with the English after a while, but we never really learned how to work together. We never really realized that there was a big South Africa sitting in townships. Okay, that's an interesting one. All right. Okay, we like music as well. In Namaqualand, we always dance, so that's the way it is. But I never knew, as a matter of fact, that I saw myself as a mighty big man. I saw myself as a person above other people. Despite the good education that I got in Namaqualand, when I got back into Gauteng, it was back to old habits. And you all know that I've been caught out a number of years ago when I spoke to a journalist and I used the K word and I spoke derogatively about my fellow citizens. It is such things that remind you that you've got an old brain, and yet you've got a clean robe. You've decided for yourself that this is a new dawn, this is a new day for all South Africans, but you still have old habits. And it's those old habits that don't die quickly. And that is what creates anger and animosity in South Africa. And since that day, I've decided that I will live differently. Generaal, kan jy my gou join me so? I just want to illustrate something that I realized, a simple thing. Maybe something to do with the laws of Newton. If you can just stretch out your hand like that to me. Why are you pressing now? Okay. I can now press once more. We must realize that conflict can only exist if there's two parties pressing against one another. And one of the things I've learned in the process is to humiliate myself. And therefore you will see me on videos crying, laughing, showering. spreading God's word, even in the shower or the bath, and Media 24 being the fundamentalists, the very conservative crowd, would then say, for example, Louis Liebenberg bad poedelnakend kaal en wil die evangelie verkondig. Obviously, I've got a bit of a thing with Media 24 because I think they do about 20% truth, 80% speculation. What I would love to see is a 50-50. You know, we're all creative, so let's get the facts about Louis and then we speculate about the other 50% because that makes it interesting. But I think 50-50 would be a good mix for Media 24. But they've also done good things here and there, not much. But I think the important thing is that we spread the truth, and therefore I started Die Waarheid Radio, the Waarheid Media, the Truth Media. Now, a lot of my enemies do not see me as a person speaking the truth. And therefore, it is necessary in my actions to do the stuff that people are talking about here today. I believe that the left hand shouldn't know what the right hand does. And therefore, although we are doing a lot of work, we are providing 2,600 people a day with food. We are saving legs of people that would have been amputated. We are giving a smile to some of the people that does not have teeth. We are doing a lot of work in squatter camps. And one of the things that people that might know about me is that when my wife left me, I was there 12 years already at Southern, first as a legal advisor and then later as a middle and senior manager. And the top boss of Southern at the time is still with us, 81 years old, as a business consultant, Peter Byers. And he knows me for many, many years. Southern at the time gave me the opportunity to build a lot of their buildings and let it to them. So I became a very wealthy man before the age of 35. I started a lot of businesses, so most of the time I've been in business. In business, I've been since the age of 14. I started asking my father for 100 chickens. And eventually, I went overseas at the end of Standard 8 to Israel, Greece, Switzerland, England, France, Germany, and a few other countries. And I wanted to see how a naked lady looks. I was looking for the Playboy at the age of 16, because South Africa at that time was very closed, and I only had 4 brothers. So I had those kind of experiences on my own, grew on my own, started businesses when I was 14, and I didn't get money from my father. Also, then eventually when I went to law school, and that, by the way, Potchefstroom University, my great-grandfather was the founder of the Burgersdorp Theological School that became Potchefstroom University. You can actually look that up. It's on my mother's father's side. But I always had this conflict. I have to do more. I've made money, I've got businesses. I had Simply Shopswell, that was a 40 shop selling white goods to people, using pastors to distribute to these different shops. But there was always this longing to do more for people, to make a change in our world. I know I'm fairly good at money. I'm convincing. I can sell. Some people would call me a con artist. I can sell. One of the things I've experienced since very early is that when I convince people to do something, they follow in their thousands. So it takes a lot of responsibility, because business is risky. And if you give them wrong advice, they can end up losing a lot of money. And that I've realized very early on. What I've also realized is that politicians in this country had very little business experience. And I mean, I've seen it through a lot of things, and I've seen it through starting to mine in Port Nolloth, first buying boats without any money initially. I went there. after I was on the street. I started singing in bars. And yet, I always sang songs like reminded me that I'm not this mighty big man. When you're on the street and you've lost everything, and I made sure that I lost everything. I gambled every single cent over 9 months in the casinos. I told my wife, if you leave me, then after 2 years there will be nothing. And today I'm ashamed of myself that I was such a big man in my own eyes. And eventually they chased me out of the hotel at the casino in the year 2000. And I was on the street without a job, and I've lost all my money. I only had the one pair of shoes and the clothing on my body. Very often we talk to people, and you talk to a squatter camp member, and you say to them that, you know what, I understand your need, but you don't. You really don't. You haven't been there. And therefore, it's a big thing in my life that people had to have experience before talking politics to people. Politicians come in and they do a bit of political science or social science at university, and then suddenly they let loose on people, unsuspecting people, and this person doesn't know anything about life. They must first go through, I thought that number one would surely be me. I thought that I could be what I wanted to be. I thought of myself as a mighty big man, but I can't even walk without you holding my hand. I can't even walk without you holding my hand. The mountains too high and the valleys too wide. Down on my knees, I've learned how to stand, because I can't even walk without you holding my hand. So when I talk to people and I see that they don't understand, they haven't been in teasers, they haven't seen a naked woman, they haven't seen prostitutes on the street, they haven't seen the bad life, they haven't been looking for scrap on the streets, I immediately know I must get this person up. If it's a professor, it's a professor. And us boys have one advantage. When we go to the toilet, you can get a professor this side of you, and you can get a guy on the street. And you've got only one thing to do. You women won't understand that, because you never get into a row to do anything. You understand? But we've got one need now. And that's when you realize, and you always have to have that attitude, that you are standing at the urinal. Nobody's number one. And that is where I started talking on the level with Afrikaans people. So my first mission was to get Afrikaans people to understand this South Africa that we are living in. And obviously, I had a lot of fights. A lot of right-wing Afrikaners makes it very difficult for you. So I've listened. I went to Bloemfontein, and after I felt that I had to go to Nkandla. After the 21 uprisings, I was praying and I was fasting with Daisy, my wife. And one morning I woke up. She started recording my prayers at night that I had in my sleep. And she said to me, Louis, you are talking a lot of violence. A lot of violence. And she couldn't understand it, because I always watched girly movies. And that was on the 9th of April 2022 that changed my life forever. I called the two pilots and I flew down to Nkandla. But I had nothing in place. I didn't prepare anything. So I only had my gut to go on. And what happened there is that we got there at Victoria or Virginia, or whatever the airport's name is. I always mix it up. Near Durban, and we were sitting there at the Spur. Now I've got my attorney, I've got Sonia there from the Waarheid, I've got 2 other guys, and I'm going to see the president. I've got no ANC connections, not even one. I've never been involved with the ANC on any level, with government as such. But I felt that I had to go there. And I went there, and I ended up at this table at a restaurant, and I didn't know. I thought, you know, I've got all these people with me. I've got the plane, the 2 pilots. What am I doing here? And a pastor came, because I ordered some Goonies through a pastor there, and Pastor Sabia sat there, and he said to me, listen, I have to call another pastor. He might have had contact with President Zuma. And after 2 hours, another pastor came in. And he said, yes, he actually knows, and he phoned somebody else. Now we've been standing there, and obviously the questions, have you heard correctly? Because if you hear something in your inner voice, you start questioning yourself if reality doesn't gel the dream. And yes, here came a short lady looking exactly like President Zuma. And she said, after a while talking to me, she said, let's not waste any more time. Let's go. And we got into this combi, and we had to stop for water, which I didn't understand. Lots of water. And then we got in there, and there was a hell of a lot of police. And as you know, police are always looking for me. I don't know why they can't find me. There must be a GPS problem. Maybe it's petrol. Maybe it's their tires. I don't know. But they're always looking for me, and they can't find me because I'm everywhere, like here today. But there was a hell of a lot. Can somebody give me a chair, please? One of the things, I must go for operation in my neck and my back, and I'm on 23 kilograms lost now. I must go down to 35, and then 3 surgeons are willing to operate. I've got bad arthritis. Okay, so sorry about that. No disrespect. So we were there, and lots of police, and I thought, okay. But they let us in, and we were sitting at a long table, and there was an old man then with his keys coming out at the back of the room, and it was President Zuma. Short, but the tallest man that I've seen in my life, sitting on a David chair with a few other chairs like this around. And he was nodding at everybody, talking intimately to everybody, taking note of everybody, how they are, where they're from, who their family is. Are their children well? Have they got grannies in the family? How are they? I've never seen such care in my life. And the President Zuma from Adrian Basson and Peter de Tooy was not the same person that I wrote in Expose Zuma. There was a total disconcert, and you must know I read. I've got 10,000 books at my home. You're willing to come and look. About 75% of that is psychology. And I understand psychology to an extent, although law was my basic study. And I looked at this, and I saw a total different man. And he then asked to see me for an hour and a half alone. And an hour and a half, I said to him, I'm a Boer. President, I'm an Afrikaner. And I will never change. I am an Afrikaner. I am who I am. And when you talk to me, I don't want us to look down upon one another. I want us to talk peer to peer. And I don't want to have this reverence for you or you for me. All I need to do is play a role to save South Africa from another 2021 upheaval. And we had a discussion for an hour and a half. We prayed, we cried, we laughed. He told me he had no money. He said to me he owes about 28 million rand of legal fees after 22 years of Billy Downer and so forth. He told me that They say that he's done all the state capture, and what he doesn't understand, that 0.16% of the GDP can be contributed to the relationship with the Guptas, and that the relationship started with Madiba, and it went on to Thabo Mbeki, and he was then also later in relationship with them. He said to me, what he wanted from them was objective news, was the truth, was ANN 7, as I recall correctly, and was it Something Age, the newspaper that the Gupta started. And I started questioning Zondo, because that was a real, soos as in Afrikaans sê, was daai ondersoek van Zondo nie 'n sirkus nie. Absolute, the worst period that I've ever seen in my life. I read Zuma Exposed again in the light of my meeting with him and the discussions we had, and I had a total different view. In one day I realized that Nkandla looks worse than my own house. There's no maintenance done. The girls are making food on a 2-plate stove, and there's no water. Our ladies, 7 in a row, had to stand and wait for the one to poo before the other, and then the 7th or 8th one can then flush. I realized that we've been lied to. I read all the Zondo Commission reports, and I realized that Zondo was appointed by Ramaphosa to protect him and his cronies. That was a big shock for me. I, like you, obviously hoped that Ramaphosa will not steal all the money with Trevor Manuel and with Maria Ramos like they've done. They have stolen the pension funds. They have stolen whatever. And suddenly, from nowhere, our president, Ramaphosa, became a crook and is still the biggest crook in this country. And unless we get rid of that bad-ass criminal, we will never have our country back. That's what I realized. I realized that President Zuma needs money for his legal fees. So I approached Dali Mpofu. I said, Dali, my brother, you are now my best friend. From now on, I will take care of the legal fees of Nkandla. So the next thing is the sheriff pitched up, 2 of them at Nkandla, wanting to take Nkandla back, wanting to take the 2 Nguni's that I gave to him as a gift on the day, wanting to take his furniture and wanting to take Nkandla. They were even having arguments with the Ngunyama Trust. And I think a lot of the fights then later with the king and with Putuleze flowed from that. For a while, I didn't know what to do. All I knew, I had to help. So I paid VBS Bank. I paid 7.5 million to the attorney. I now believe everything has not reached VBS Bank. Now, if you ask me about VBS Bank, I don't understand much. I've met Julius Malema 2 o'clock in the morning in 2006 with his ANC Youth League people when they had a conference, 2006 or 7, and I bought him a 50-year-old whiskey 2 o'clock in the morning, and he spoke pure Afrikaans with me, and he said, Louis, we're going to kill you. You better share. You can build your buildings as high as you want, all your walls. You can fix all the cameras in Sandton and wherever. We're going to climb over and we're going to kill you. He says, but I like you. I say, maar ek like jou ook. Ek hou net nie baie daarvan dat jy my nou wil doodmaak nie. That's not nice. Ons moet maniere leer. That's not good. We are both men. But I bought him, I said, bring me the best whiskey in this place, Salute. And they brought me a 3.5 million rand whiskey. I didn't know that that was going to be the cost. I had to swipe a few cards. Quite a few, I must be honest, and bring in a bit of cash as well. It was more than what was placed at Pala Pala, I believe. And I must be honest with you, the Pala Pala story to me is nonsense. I sometimes carry about 30 to 50 million in my boot. because if you want to trade with diamonds, you have to have cash. So I don't like the story that they want to stop the cash in Africa. I think we must cut our umbilical cord with the West. The West is hurting this country because they assume that we are a first world country, and they are indoctrinating us on the same fashion. And obviously we must get rid of Motsepe. I'm not saying Sundowns as such. Sundowns, they can play. I mean, they're a cuck team, but Kaizer Chiefs, I mean, you have to support. But Motsepe, they have to get rid of, because we don't need the World Economic Forum to dictate to Africa what we are about to do. We need the East. We need China. We need the big BRICS countries. We need to accept the fact that America will destroy all countries until they are the Union Jack, like once set on the rest of the world. I am absolutely anti-West. I am absolutely anti-England. I love Europe because my history is there, but they have decided on the wrong side of history. Also the question that our normal Christians, we are supposed to be 70% Christians in South Africa, we think it's great that people must sit at night in Gaza and be bombed by one bomb after the other, murdered blatantly, because in the past they had to try and defend themselves with a knife against the IDF. It is impossible. So South Africa, the one thing that they did good was to vote against Israel and voted for genocide, because nobody with half a brain can miss the fact that it's total genocide of the Gaza, of the Palestinians. What has happened in history is that some people's lives have become very valuable. $1 million for one life, but some people's life, also in our old South Africa, and therefore we need to be ashamed of what we've done. The other people's life is only worth 1 cent. You know what shows that to me? If a black lady of 80 walks next to the road at 11 o'clock at night, we drive past and we say, it's net, yeah, somebody's walking. When a lady, a white lady, walks 8 o'clock at night outside alone next to the road, we pick her up and we say, oh, Magis, what are you doing here? It is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And I had to realize these things in order to become ein Mensch, really to become a person. We need to understand, okay, I see the DA, and I want to go just off the list. We have to create jobs, 2 million. John Steenhuisen, you will never do it. I walked up to you in the Bloemfontein court. I've asked you to remove Veronica van Dijk out of the DA because I've been voting DA before, and Veronica van Dijk in Namakwaland has been stopping me to help the poor, the downtrodden, the Zamazamas looking for work, because Zamazamas in the Northern Cape is not the same as in Johannesburg. They're not a bunch of criminals. They are loving people, but they have been working for De Beers and the big mining companies. And as you know, the big mining companies like De Beers, that are the biggest blood diamond companies in the world, they've killed more people to get the diamonds than any other individual in the whole world's history. And I've worked in Africa. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've worked in Uganda. I've worked in the DRC. I've worked in Angola. I've worked in Sierra Leone. I've worked in Zimbabwe. And I've been very good friends with the generals of the family that was in control there. So they want to do 2 million jobs. They cannot create one job. It's impossible. They haven't done it. They will not do it. They will do it in Cape Town, where the wealthy people are. But come to Bronkhorstspruit, and I've got some footage here of me going into Bronkhorstspruit, the town that I live. Ek is 'n damduiker. Ek bly daar op die dam. Okay? Bietjie common. You will see that I'm not that refined. Van Namakwaland, I talk nie lekker nie, né? Okay, they want to create jobs. But in the first place, they can only create jobs where the money is. They found it there. All the colonialists are still sitting there. And you must please understand, the Afrikaners are not the same nation. The colonialist, die sissies, het agtergebly in Kaapstad. Okay? Dis die softies. Die oukies wat met die graan gewerk het. They cannot work with animals and bulls and stuff like that. The softies stayed. Even now, you get into Cape Town, you've got a GP number, and you hoot. Hey, they get angry. They somewhere stop there. This is our place. You're an incomer. You must go home. Have you ever tried to go onto their beaches with a GP registration number? They're immediately upon you. But in Bronkhorstspruit, it is still under Tshwane. It is still under coalition. Okay? And there's ladies in front of the municipality sitting there. They haven't got water for 3 years. We are providing them with food every day. Go and buy chicken licken, go and listen to their story, give them 10,000 rand to distribute so that their children at home. There's a group of ladies sitting there. I hope you know that, media. They're sitting in front of the municipality and they will not go before they have water. Remember, it is not an informal settlement. It is a settlement, and it's part of the DA's responsibility because it's not popular to go to Bronkhorstspruit. It's just popular to do it at Table Mountain. So I walked, what am I? I've got something against the SABC. Yeah, sorry. I'm so sorry, or I'm clumsy, I am. So, ladies and gentlemen, when I saw John Steenhuisen, now you know when a man meets a man, he knows he's met a man. But when a stud bull like me meets a commercial bull, you know there's a big difference. When you walk up to him and you say, John, I want to see you, and he looks like that. This man is a what? He's a what? I don't know. He couldn't get a word out. He was just like staring like a small mouse, you know. He couldn't answer me. Why do you have a person sitting in a DA position in a Makwaland and she breaks down everything that I'm building up? I'm having a camp project with Zamas of 300 people. I'm working up to 5,000 people to work the formal mines. I give them the instruments, I give them the money, I support them, we're helping them, we're creating jobs, and she's looking for dust in front of the mine. I would fart more dust than them working there. That is a reality. It's totally irrelevant. So that's where the animosity comes from. And a lot of my anger comes from there because they create enemy groups that works against this. And they want to say, I'm an illegal miner. Anybody can come and check me. All my mining permits are legal. I've taken over the old De Beers for the past more than 18 months. I've worked other mines before. I've got 144,000 hectares of mine under my control. I mine thousands of carats of diamonds a day, and yet Media 24 writes that I'm a diamond smous. A peddler. What is a peddler? A peddler immediately tells people, nee, jy sommer net 'n smous. Now, people don't understand. This diamond, when you take it out of a mine, you might get it for about 250,000 to 300,000. It's a 3-carat D, and it's an IF, internally flawless. It's like the Russian girls coming for teasers. They are waxed properly. There's no problem. You can turn them around. You find no fault in them, no defect. Have you ever done that? I've done it twice. And they are graduated. They just can't find work in Russia. They must come here. Beautiful girls. Okay. So load shedding, immediately they told us they're going to sort out. You will not sort out load shedding. We must nationalize, not privatize. We must nationalize the Reserve Bank. We must have a state bank. And we must nationalize most of our industry. most of our industry. A developing country needs a very good state operators. But the problem is here that if you're going to have catered deployment, you're not going to achieve your vision. But if you allow the state to pay the best salaries for the best person, and you don't concentrate just on BEE, you scrape some of the racial, you keep some so that they can become a balance. We know that in South Africa there's a lot of discrepancy in terms of income, but you nationalize your most important assets that's going to provide services to people. I say that Ramaphosa is going the wrong route. The wrong route. It's true that if you appoint somebody that's going to siphon money, like Trevor Manuel, he was the only trustee, and he siphoned money until the state pension funds was finished. I mean, there was nobody checking, there was no checks and balances, and they talk about checks and balances, but him and his girlfriend just ransacked this guy, and they say that it was Zuma. I still challenge the media to come and prove to me bank statements and all that Zuma has captured the state. It is a very strange thing that one president must be haunted, and let me tell you, it's a shame. It is one of the biggest shames that we've taken President Zuma and made him a crook in front of the whole international world. And after 22 years of being in a court, and now you will immediately say, but Stalingrad. Listen, friend, let's try Stalingrad. I've been charged for rape by my girlfriend, and you would have seen it in the news. I was totally set free and everything and found innocent, but I was there for 77 appearances, 7.5 years of my life, 8 million rand of fees. It destroyed me. Eventually, I couldn't even use an advocate. I had to defend myself. It can destroy your life. 22 years in a court is wrong. And now Ramaphosa comes and says, okay, 15,000 other people can go, and you too. And what does the IEC do? They do not even recognize the president of a country that said no more. If you say no more, no more, it means you don't have to go to prison. And then it means automatically there's no 15 months involved. How can you now suddenly turn around? No, he's got 15 months. And isn't it amazing how they can just manipulate it so that it's 15 months and not 13 or not 12 or not 10 or a year? But now suddenly, with the pardon itself, the same story. They like AfriForum. AfriForum takes debit orders of about 29 million rand a month. What do they do with it? They want to build Afrikaans universities. I mean, really? We had Potchefstroom University, it's Afrikaans, they changed in English. We had Stellenbosch, we changed it in English. So what do you want to do? Build another Afrikaans university that's going to change in English within 2 years? We all know expropriation without compensation is coming. It's there, it's finished. I mean, we know that. So what did I do? I went and I said, in a number of discussions with President Zuma, we must introduce a system like we've got in England. The state has got all the ground, but you've got a form of ownership, a naked form of ownership with 99-year leasehold like we've had with Hong Kong. Now everybody and all capitalists are saying, but if we do that, all the property will lose its value. Why didn't it happen in England? As a matter of fact, England has got the most expensive property prices in the world. We are not saying expropriate everybody's land, and hopefully that is not the plan of the ANC. But if we get rid of Ramaphosa, we get rid of the World Economic Forum in the form of his brother-in-law. Right? In fact, if you get rid of Ramaphosa, you've got no more ANC on the top. And then, why don't you have a Zulu in the top 7? My goodness gracious, the Nguni group in South Africa, you must recognize and respect as the biggest group and the only person, only one that really has a king that is active. And what did Ramaphosa do? Okay, he introduced him, then he said to him, let's go to the Soccer World Cup. Great. It wasn't safe for the Zulu king to go to the Soccer Cup, so President Zuma, the only ever good president we had after Madiba, said, listen, don't go there, it is dangerous. You're in a fragile situation with your wife. Your brother wants to kill you. There's a lot of KwaZulu-Natal killings. So don't go to the Soccer World Cup. So what did Ramaphosa do? He went quickly around, got him in the Joburg hotel. I went after, so Matsepe came out, greeted him. I went up, and I found the Zulu King with another wife that I didn't recognize. So what did they set him up to do? They set him up on drugs, okay? And they started taking the photos. This is South Africa. Set him up on drugs, and now they've got all excuses. He's in hospital, he's here, he's there, he's there. Why did Ramaphosa plan to put the Zulu King on drugs? Why did he do that? And then why did he get everybody to take photos of a naked king and humiliate him? And therefore the king doesn't even go to his palace. He stays in Balitu. I went there. The premier of KwaZulu-Natal, under Ramaphosa's instructions, stopped the Zulu King's money. So I had to supply the Zulu King and pay for his staff. None of his staff, a Zulu King, a proud man, was humiliated in this fashion, caught by drugs. And then they can do with him whatever they want to. That is why I went to Nkandla, because I wanted to know for myself what is happening. That is why I became a friend of the Zulu King that disappeared suddenly because they've given him drugs at the Soccer World Cup, and he was never the same. And then the fights with his brother, the killings, and all those things starts. If we shine a light of truth on South Africa, we can build the greatest nation. But if we're a steenhuisen that cannot stand for example, I went and I saw Andrew Lowe, the DA Premier candidate. I took some of the people from Namaqualand, the Namaqualand king and so on. He's an informal king. I know he's not, he must been inaugurated by the Premier. I understand that still has to happen. And I asked the question, the Kwai and the San, why don't they have a king? The first people that you and I come from. Now, I'm a descendant from Cradock. My father's mother's side, you can go and do the whole thing. My forefather came in and married Cradock's daughter, Pieternella. So therefore, I have a heart for the first people in this country, and therefore I work in Namaqualand, and therefore I feed the Namaqualanders, because it's one of the worst. It's the richest province in our country, but it's got the poorest people there. I mean, I'm giving you a mouthful today, and I'm going to try and go quickly through another few points. Load shedding is never going to end. I am so surprised that for 23 days we're not going to get load shedding. Can you imagine how much diesel we are pumping now? We are pumping ourselves bankrupt just to keep it going for 23 days because it's election time, and now we are going to fool the people. The people are not stupid. You know, we are underestimating the intelligence of the average South African. People are clever. They've got internet. Well, children at 2 years old can play with a phone, you know, and bug up your battery. The crime. Take out the criminals of the police. Let me tell you, I've been shot. 2021 on the 11th of September, a 9/11 event. I've been followed from the Emperor's Hotel to my place in Bronkhorstspruit, and on the R25, I drove and I saw lights from the back flickering, and I was with Desi on the phone, and I was with another right-wing guy on the phone, Ramkat, and I said, yeah, there's something strange here at the back, you know. And then a Jeep came with 4 balaclava, 4 people, and I saw another car at the back, sort of a Golf 7 or something, and they came with these R5s, and I could clearly see them, and I just drove. And then they went in front of me, I went around. It was during a COVID, and I had to be at home at 10 o'clock. So I had to rush. But my rushing is 90 kilometers an hour. I never had a speed fine. The old tunnies tell me to go left. Maybe I've got a speed fine that I don't know about. But I drive 80 kilometers on the highway. I'm the guy. It's very strange. My personality is very quick, but I drive slowly. And so they passed me and went back, and then they started shooting from the back. Now, normally in the movies you hear, but no, it was like tick, tick, you know. Have you been shot, one of you? It's like just tick, tick, because the wind goes. But they hit my Land Cruiser all over. 13 bullets they found, and they found in the other car. So I went right up to a garage without wheels. I was driving at 90 kilometers an hour, but cars were coming from the front, so God's hand was on me all the time. They missed me. They said I must go left. I would never, because I know they're going to kill me there. I never knew that I had 300,000 in the car. Another person put 300,000 under my suits. For that day, I thought I had no money in the car. So they got 300,000. When they left, I greeted them and I said, guys, you've done your job for the day. Because that was at the garage under a camera, and I can show you all the footage. So all the big boys, they big boys, these private investigators come, and they want to make money from Louis, all of them. Hey, the private investigators, they big crooks, eh? They ask you deposit of 500,000, they don't do anything. Up to now, nothing. They know it's 5 policemen that booked out the R5s, and it was 3 taxi bosses that worked together, and there was a white man with them. Strangely enough, we could see under the balaclava, but nothing. Same to me. You see, I've got nice teeth now. I prayed for somebody to knock my teeth out just outside of Potchefstroom. And somebody came and they showed me they're going to kill me like this. And I said, now let's go. And I drove 40 kilometers to Western area. And there was 2 policemen. And I stopped and I said, please, just radio. And they followed them. And when I spoke to my girlfriend at the time, I had 22 girlfriends. And now my wife is my 23rd. Yeah. No, you have to test all things and keep what's good. You know, that's the way. You must test drive. And so what happened then, and I've got a wonderful, wonderful wife, and she's saving my life. She's behind me all the time. And what I would like to say about this very issue of life, you come to a stage in your life where you realize what's important. What's important. And a woman is stability. If we don't have stable women in government, 2/3 of the government should be women, because then the men will behave. It is just a fact. We should be out there fighting the fight outside of Parliament, and the women should be in there. That's the way it should be. And then we will have peace in this country. Now, there's a few things that obviously is very important to me. We must take the mineral wealth and the permits out of the hands of the state. And now you're going to say to me, that's a bit of a contrasting statement. There are certain things that rural communities and that our communities itself can take care of. And that is our minerals in our area. We know what the minerals in our area is. If you've got a centralized system with Mantashe deciding who his brothers are, who's going to get these permits, you must see how ridiculous it is. People that can mine, that has all the knowledge and the equipment and so on, don't get the permits. A person that is related gets the permits. We must get rid of the tender system. We must get rid of the tender system. Then we won't have this story. Yes, the tender system and corruption is good for a while. I saw it in the DRC. Corruption is good for a country because those people spend their money quickly. You know, they buy the women rings and they buy them and they take them overseas and they buy them new cars and clothing. So yes, Gucci and all those places are doing very well. But then when that's finished, they go to the pawn shop. It's a very interesting thing. Our ministers, if they lose their job in the ANC now, 2 months, they can't pay rent. 2 months, that's a terrible system. We have to have more continuity. You have to have a person 10 years, 15 years in there, but a real person with the real qualities and not all these families. If we can get rid of Ramaphosa, and I pray that we do, and that he will, I've been to our deputy president, I like him very much. Everybody talks about Paul Mashatile, this, that. That man came through the ranks. That man came from nothing, and they talk about Alex, and people are just not used to money. A man has money, suddenly has to explain everything. SARS is on him, the police are on him. The police never made money. SARS never made money, but they come and inspect you. How's that? If you had good sex, you go and train somebody how to do it. You can't get a virgin to come and show you how to do missionary and doggy and all those things. No, man, come on. Get real people in real life. That is how it works. Get the bloody illegal guys out of our country. And when I say that, if Home Affairs if I take care of Home Affairs, if I get the job of Home Affairs, I will clean this country up like in nobody's business. There must be a dominant person, a Hitler in Home Affairs. No crookery, no nothing, no patla, nothing. Just do the right thing. Do the right thing. Because here I differ from our comrade Julius. Julius and my economic model is very much the same. Therefore, I'm very good friends with Carl. Very good friends with Carl. And it's not a friendship based on political views. It's a friendship based on a person with integrity that the ANC treated very badly. And I think the legacy of the ANC is becoming very bad, and it seems as though Julius is repeating the same mistake. If you chase a lady that is very important in your organization in front of everybody and you humiliate the person, eventually it will catch up with you, and your 13% of the vote that should go to 18 or 20 will go down to 10, because people want to be treated with respect. But I do respect what they're doing. So I'm very much on the same vein as my friend Julius. Close the borders. Put the mineral wealth in the hands of ordinary people. This is what I'm fighting for. I started dealing with diamonds. I started fighting for the Zamazamas in Namaqualand, and we are putting a model where there's people working. Nobody wants to. I've invited Media 24 to the mine just about in every video. There's a Bermuda Triangle in front of the cars of Media 24. They just they disappear before they get to Namaqualand, and then the next day Jana still writes, the diamonds are sand, there's only 40 rand. I put pictures of the diamonds. No, $40, worth nothing. De Beers worked it. Man, I grew up there. I saw the first diamonds at 10 years old. I know. De Beers just went and picked up with old technology all the nice diamonds, all like they've done the world over, and then they bugger off out of their country. There's no loyalty with a big show. We must stop revering the big companies. I see still, and it's part of our legacy of apartheid. The journalists go and sit there with Rupert, and immediately, hello sir, how are you? Hey, you must address it like Julius. Hey, Rupert. Hey, man. Sell a few of those Ferraris. It's enough for you now. You can only wear one pants, one. I'm a multimillionaire. I'm not ashamed to say I've got a few 100 million. But I don't want a cent by the time I die. Not a cent. And my children must work for their own money. This country needs people that's mavericks, that's going to change it, that's not going to stick to every rule. You stick to every rule, you will never have a company. Yes, like in this country, I started the companies way back as a student. The regulation, the red tape that you have to go through, I feel sorry for the informal settlement. You must have 500 degrees, 7 years. If we want business on a stock exchange, what is a stock exchange? Do you know that we don't gain a cent from a stock exchange? A stock exchange is just money going from rich to rich. Warren Buffett to another Buffett to another Moff and to another. It just goes like that. It's just money in a pool. It doesn't help our economy. So they go and list overseas, they list here, but they don't do any business here. Marion Roberts don't do a cent of business in South Africa anymore. Nothing. It's all in Australia and somewhere else. So what does it help that we've got them on the JSE? They're using our country. The JSE, you know what we must do again? Go back to the first thing. I buy so much, bring koeie in on an auction. We must go back to that. So we get to real things we are buying, not this Bitcoin nonsense. Okay, sorry. Blockchain is fine, but let's get to physical. You know this thing that you invite a girl for a lacquer time on social media. This thing must stop. We must start at the JSE and in person and social life. We must start interacting again. COVID made us mad. Made us mad. People don't want to go to office, sit at home. When you sit at home, you're not going to work. When you have somebody looking at you, your boss comes around, he says, hey, supervisor, hey, you're smoking 15 minutes, it should be 5. Shouldn't be smoking anyhow, I never smoked. One of the great things I heard about Zuma, he never had any schooling, he was schooled under a tree. Eh? So I said, that's great, and he said he never drank liquor. And he never smoked. Because when he saw once a person drunk and he stabbed a man and he was dead, he decided. Now you tell me that is a crook, that has got principles, doesn't smoke. He honors God. He prays. Every December, he gives all the elders a big Christmas on his own money. I had to help him with some of that, so I know. So how can a poor man in this country make a difference if he's all the time in jail? I predict that President Zuma will be the president. The people will vote for him. The reason is he sat with the people. He's one of them. And even if it's just a year, okay, I know they will have to change the constitution, but we will have there will be a 2/3 majority between the ANC, EFF, and MK. It is just the ANC that's been broken up. The right of the ANC went to the DA. Therefore, the DA doesn't know what to do anymore. They stick on abortion, then they go to LGBTQ, and you're going to ask me about those questions. I feel a shit for that. It's not the important things. Let the people work. Try and understand Maslow. Maslow, for clever people say, first look after security, look after people's housing, give them housing. They're talking in Ramaphosa's time. No housing was built, just about nothing. What happened in the old man that has to go to jail? He built houses like it's going out of fashion, and the people know that. And then you start. So when Ramaphosa talks about smart cities, you can see he came from the G7. It's like a guy. He comes from, Alex. He walks like this. And he suddenly wants to look, hi English. Yes, sir. Okay, fine. Yes, I must say, it is terrible that the economy in South Africa is not working very nicely with the climate change. Fuck the climate change. Fuck the climate change. I mean, really and truly, are we blind? The sun is going to burn us. I've been at the sea at Port Nolloth. The sun looks fine to me unless you go and throw some chemicals and you start buggering up our country. What is it now? I mean, when I fart, I put the ozone in trouble. No wonder they talk about a hole in the ozone, because it's us farting all the time. Let's stop farting. The farmers must be protected. This story, we've been brainwashed, and even now we know. COVID, we didn't know what we were talking about. And I'm angry at my Afrikaner brothers. I'm angry at Pieter Groenewald. Yes, Pieter Groenewald asked me to come and see him last year in April to convince the Khoisan to vote for the Freedom Front. So I went there because of my friend Billy Markram and Skalk Engelbreg. I need to explain to you. I'm looking after white towns like Eureka because old people move there for safety. Okay, now they're there. Now they can't form a township. Now the bulldozers want to take it down. And I go to the ANC. I'm in the Constitutional Court now. I say, why do you do that to old people? I don't care what color they are. I do the same for the Khoisan. We want to build a town for the Khoisan, a traditional, a cultural town. We must respect. In democracy, in pure democracy, we must allow people the choice, the freedom of choice. Why would some brothers be protected like Orania and Kleinfontein? Do you know what they do to Kleinfontein? Do you know what happens there in Kleinfontein? They're having camps, and then the women sleep with 6 other men and stuff like youth camps. But they are the Christian culture. You should have seen me on video storming in there to go and stop this, because then you remember one of the Boeremark people, one of those ladies charged him, and I found out it was nonsense. And I went to the father of the lady and I said to him, come on, be real now. You can't do that. I went to Kleinfontein just to go and support the wife in this right-wing Kleinfontein. What happened there? The security refused me to go in there. So I'm helping white, black, yellow, colored, Indian. I've got some of the best friends. Ask Bani Mashlangu. I've been working Highveld Steel with him since for ages as a friend. He's ANC. I always joke about the ANC. I think the situation in South Africa, and with that I would like to conclude. I can say so much more, but we must apply really situational leadership. What I see is a blanket for all, you know? And we must look at the situation, and we must start loving people like we've been instructed by all the holy books, not only the Bible. Yes, I'm a Christian. I stand for it. But when God speaks to me like he's done in 2022, and he says to me, you go to Nkandla, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I wake up and I say, we go. I go because God is trying to teach me something that's going to happen in the future. And you know what? When my aeroplane started lifting, the pilot said, you better come, better come. The big rain came to KwaZulu-Natal. 5 minutes in time, we pulled out of there. And I saw that also as a spiritual sign of God. Just in time, he saved us to go and deliver that message. Today, President Zuma came to my leadership conference, and he sang his war songs. The Afrikaner wants to kill me. I said to the Zulu king, and I said to the Afrikaners, and you know, this is a highly sensitive thing, and I want to end on that. I said to the Zulu king when I visited him, I said, King, you and I must take our weapons. You, your traditional weapon, me, the sana. We still have sanas around here. We must take those traditional weapons on the 16th of December and go and wash our weapons right there in Blood River. That's where we, you know, the Liebenbergs were slaughtered. First, one of my family with Retief, and now the Afrikaners are saying, I'm another Retief. I'm telling my people now to go and negotiate with Zuma and all the black people. I speak to everybody, to Ace. I'm going to visit Ace. Maybe I help him a bit with his campaign in the Free State as well, and maybe he helps me as well. Everybody says, Ace, you know, all these politicians, suddenly they've got 560,000 charges against them. I mean, if there's a real charge, says, okay, you took your wife, you know, maybe, you know, he buggered around a bit. Okay, okay, fine. Let him go. Let him go to the small claims court. But don't waste the Supreme Court on all these things. That's absolute rubbish. But if you, Ramaphosa, you can rape. But they will say to you, the girl must not be 5 years old. She must maybe be 16. And I'm not saying he's doing that. I'm saying, let's get rid of the rubbish. Our country is dealing with an economy that is failing. We are in such deep debt. We've got 75% of our GDP already in debt. We don't have our farmers that flourish. There's only 29,000 farmers left of 70,000. Our farmers are being killed. Forget about the fact that they're black or white or green. That's not important. Why would the Premier of the Free State also be attacked? It is not a white crime. It is not meant against the white people. We must wake up. We've been killed, the Liebenbergs, omdat ons harde gat was. We were killed by the Matabellis at the Liebenberg Koppie at Parijs, and two of the sons of my forefather. The one who lost his eyes were the Matabellis, and he had to run, and he died, and then the other one escaped and he went to the Potgieters. I'm still working with the Potgieter now. So the Liebenberg and Potgieters are still working together. But we died because we were hard-assed. We were fighting with one another. So we went to Paris, and we didn't want to stay together. We were all over the show, and we were weak, and we were attacked. But now is the time for reconciliation. Now is the time, and it takes a person that was on the street, that saw what it is not to have food, and at the same time, a man that's got hundreds of millions and helping other people. And if I lose my money again, I will go to the streets and again, and I will survive. I stop at every place where there's people on the street. You can look at all my videos. I stop in the middle of Cape Town, in town, and it's raining and it's cold, and I say to Desi, take the wheel, and I run. And then they're all hooting like the Cape Townians, like the colonialists do. Remember, we are not the same people. We are Boere. Those are Afrikaners. Please, we are not the same tribe. It's like the Xhosa and the Zulu. We are not the same tribe as the Afrikaners that stayed with the English. They submitted to another form. We've been harde gat. We wanted our own government. We are different. We are Boere. There's a major difference between the two, and you will see the fighting between the Afrikaners and the Boere. Before the Xhosas and Zulus will fight again, the Afrikaners and the Boere will moer mekaar in this country. You will see it. So therefore, I'm asking for reconciliation. Questions, if you've got any. Don't ask me about teasers. I haven't been there in many, many years. Is dit Media 24? O, Here, kyk, hier kom 'n woeste een oor my maatskappye, but okay. All right, you are bankrupt, sir. What are you talking about? Okay. I will answer as long as you ask, and I will answer frankly,
Okay.
whether you like the answer or not.
Hi, sir. My name is
Yes.
Amanda Koza. I work for News 24.
Yes, my love.
Thank you for your presentation.
Were you late for your flight this morning in Cape Town or not? It wasn't you.
No.
There was one lady with a hell of a suitcase. She said, but I have to get for 10 o'clock for a meeting, so it wasn't you.
I'm just curious, sir.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know whether I missed it or
No.
what, but
All right.
you here to campaign as an independent candidate, but you speak a lot about former President Jacob Zuma.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just join MK or support the party?
No, I'll tell you why.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
The second one is I'm a bit confused why people should vote for your party, but you spent almost the last hour or so speaking about other parties. Like, why should South Africans vote for you? If you could just sum it up, why should South Africans put their trust in your political party?
Yeah, because I'm good at business. Okay, because business is going to save South Africa, and I'm good at those skills. And I also didn't register for the whole country. I've got a political party already in Namaqualand called the National Economic Fighters, where I fight for Zama-Zamas. I spent 2 million on their campaign, and we got 3 councillors on a local level. So we already sorted in the areas that I work. And I've also taken the Zumas there, so they're working together as well, and we are also fighting. I was the only one, for example, to fund the EFF for a campaign. So you might find it strange that I think we need competition. Even me, I need competition in the area where I ask people to vote for me. But As you know, Peter Groenewald has objected against our votes. All our people made sure that all the forms are right and the signatures are right, and now suddenly, although they said to me after the date, you are now in those 4 provinces, they suddenly have a problem now with Limpopo and with, sorry, what's the other one? Okay, so obviously I'm going to court and I'm going to win that fight because I know here are the people that's done it and they are very honest. I haven't even touched a paper, so I've been all over on my travels and they've done it correctly, double-checked it in the system. The system of the IEC with the independent candidates was a problem. They can come and vouch for it. They were struggling with the system, so we took the physical ones and and a lot of them have been captured on the system. So, but the answer is plain and simple. Plain and simple. I propagate people working together, and in the areas I would not stand in areas where I know the MK is very strong and they're very capable of getting all the votes. But Pretoria is 700,000 of Afrikaans people, and I know the Free State. I came from Bloemfontein before I went to Namaqualand. I know those people. So I know I can swing a lot of the Freedom Front votes towards me, and then I will work with the MK. There's no doubt, and I haven't made any secret that I'm going to work with the MK.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Liebenberg. It's Natasha here from SABC News.
Yes.
Just as a follow-up to Amanda's question, why would you think that people would actually vote for you? I mean, you made an interesting point in your answer saying that you've got a political party, the National Economic Fighters.
Yes.
Don't you think you would have been better off actually campaigning under that banner
Yes.
rather than as an independent candidate? And like Amanda says, you talk a lot about the MK party. Should you perhaps go to Parliament, would you be willing to work with the MK party? Would you be willing to work with ACT? You mentioned Ace Magashule, as well as the EFF. You talk about the nationalization of the banks and certain industries. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, if it wasn't for the fact that Julius is a populist and he tends to create the impression this country is only for black people, this country is for all people. And I think it is time that we change just the wording. For example, white monopoly capital. Ramaphosa is as white as you can get. He's very, very white. He's just not, his color is not reflecting his political views. He's a white man. He's a coconut, you know. So that's the one thing. But as for, let me just get the crux of your matter. For me, I am a salesman. I can sell myself to people. I got 50,000 people to give me 5 billion rand the past 3 years to go and mine. Some of them unhappy with the diamond prices. Some the SAR and NPA, and everybody's got a problem when groups are getting together. South Africa is not used to the fact that groups try and stand together and put capital together, because we can't fight the big mining houses. We can't fight the beers without standing together. So I convince people to stand together, and then we go and mine together. So I propagate a partnership between capital and people without capital. So I convince the people with capital that they share in a project, in the wealth of the mining, for example, and they both get a dividend from that. So that is something that hasn't been done before in South Africa, never. All groups are stopped. We've seen it with MTI. MTI was very liquid, and we must change the liquidation laws. It is just crooks going around this country and getting assets. It's a lot of crooks. Our liquidation legislation is 50 plus years old. Everything in South Africa is brand new, but even my pants. But when you look at very important pieces of legislation, the master of the Supreme Court and the attorneys, I mean, you know, when they open up their mouths and the liquidators, they lie. They lie. So those are the real crooks, and auditors, obviously. They together stop our country to do business. And that's why you've got Media 24 telling everybody that he's a crook, he's a smous. 309 articles for one man. I am more well known than Ramaphosa. I will introduce him next time, to people when they walk with me. I am the most well-known South African at the moment in the Afrikaans media. But we're going to start the Waarheid Sunday paper with the independent news. So that's going to be the Afrikaans Die Waarheid. And that's going to happen in 6 weeks from now, or as quickly as it's going to be the biggest Afrikaans newspaper in South Africa. We must tell the Afrikaans people the truth. Naspers must die. They're not profitable anyhow. They're not. They did the 10-cent story and the Chinese crookery, and they fired the Hollander that did it all for them, and then they took all the money and ran. It's a typical ANC thing. Yeah. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm from the SABC. My name is Busi Chimombe. I'd like to find out 2 questions. The first being about the Eureka whites-only town that apparently you were associated with.
Yes.
Can you just explain exactly what happened there, and if you still believe that in a vision like that? The second one is you were talking about your whole attitude towards prescribed assets. Do you think that retirement funds should be made to give a certain amount to government projects?
I've got other views. I think we must increase VAT to 25%, okay, and take away pay as you earn. 70 companies in this country pay 70% of the tax, and that's totally the reason why you've got white monopoly capital. Most of those companies, the top 70 companies, are white companies, so there you also have a problem. But when you take people's pension, a lot of the working people don't even have pensions because, as you know, I know a guy from Nelspruit that's been an advocate for 40 years at Nelspruit, and that government pension is bankrupt. You know that Marcus Jooste, I had some racehorses as well, so I saw him a lot of times, and I know that accountants are crooks. It's just not well known. PwC, KPMG, I mean, they are the biggest crooks in the world. But suddenly now, Jooste has just brought it to light that they crook with the books. But coming back to, sorry, your first question was, you must remind an old man at 60. Eureka. Listen, okay, here's my view. So we needed an interim government for 50 years. Okay? Because up to that point, people had control over maybe 2,000 rand. Okay? Because of apartheid. Because suddenly they get into a union, they get 600 million like Ramaphosa from Harry Oppenheimer, and they get them in the right positions, and they start manipulating. Capital manipulates. Up to this time, capital manipulates, and we must stop that, because that's the real corruption. So we must ask the questions like, how did Ramaphosa get all those billions? That's a question you need to ask, and nobody does. No, nobody dares, but Eureka. So what happens to some people with farm murders and all the murders, 70 people being killed in South Africa on a daily basis, white, black, all colors? Some people believe that it is a racial issue. It's reverse discrimination. Now, they're old. To try and convince a lady of 65, 70, 80 years old, no, it's not true, don't think along the racial lines, we're in 30 years in a democracy, very hard. They believe that they need to go and stay on a farm together with their brothers and sisters. You get that in all tribes. There's tribalism all over, traditional leaders with their camp and so on. So it happens with Afrikaners as well. I wasn't there when initially they were invited there, but once they were there, I'm in Namaqualand. I took the king of Namaqualand, that is an informal king, Paul Swartboy, that is not recognized. I took him from the Bonnel Swarts, and I took him to Eureka, and for the first time, a colored man was allowed onto the ground to go and see Uncle Adrian. And they sat down, I've still got the video, for 4 hours. They spoke about what they experienced when they were children, the fauna of the flora, the Namaqualand, the flowers, the whole thing there. And they had 4-hour talk and laughed. And since then, I've been taking the people there. And then I also started getting involved in the fight, because here's the thing. We're currently in the Constitutional Court because now the ANC government there wants to take bulldozers and just flatten they got. So I said, no, you can't do that. These people took their pensions. They provide their own water. They provide their own light. They are not a burden. Let's rather do a town planning. I will give 32 million and we do town planning, and yes, then everybody can go and stay there. But those people built the houses. So it's two things. I'm not for white towns. I'm not for white towns. Everybody knows that. But I'm for people. So they're sitting there, they've been invited, they've put in their money, and then there was a lot of things happening, like Afrikaners, when you've got 5 Afrikaners, 5 churches, 5 different denominations, that's how we are. Ons is harde gat. And the same happened there. So there's about 50 houses there, and there's another town called Groendorp, 5 kilometers from the sea, at Gurries on the same line, same road, and there's 60, but that's removable houses, so that court case is on the go, and I've been funding that court case. I think it's about 4 million so far. And we on the Constitutional Court, because the Constitutional Court must tell us what to do. Not the ANC local council of Gurries that wants to flatten those because they've got a problem with some of the people staying there. Those are old people. The eldest is 93. Some people are 84. They die in those houses. They don't have a lot of hospitalization. A lot of them are dying. I help as far as I can. I've spent a few million spending there and on infrastructure, helping and so on. But I do the same in Namaqualand. I do the same in Steinkopf. I do the same in the Free State. I do the same in Mpumalanga. I do the same in Limpopo. Wherever I see need, I don't see color, because my mind has changed. Yes, I still had this thing of going into a pothole and getting angry and then say the wrong word. But I realized immediately, it's my old apartheid head speaking. I must get my mind right. Therefore, obviously, I must apologize for things like that's still in my background, in my mind, in my file 13. And I think we must be careful with this hate speech. I've been, Veronica van Dijk from the DA has been busy with me with this hate speech that is a made-up, mocked-up voice note that Teresa could see from the Beeld. I had a 2.5-year extramarital affair with her. We met for sex, basically, in hotels. It was good. But then what she did is she downloaded my text. That's a bad thing. If a man is on orgasm and you download his text, that's not fair. I'm down and out, and now she's using the moment of weakness. And because of that, it's in and so the DA came with that voice note, and that was about Eureka. That day, they were attacking 30 policemen, taking the old people's clothing, pantyhose, everything. I mean, what are they doing? And throwing it on the ground and leaving it in havoc, and I got angry. And I said, but those people, and I said the K word, and I'm sorry till this day. I apologize profusely. It's years back. I never said that to a person. It was to a person that I had a relationship with for 2.5 years. And then she still started stealing money from me, was caught on camera. The restaurants told me this, Teresa could see us stealing from you. I've got all the things, but to now she's going to lose her job, 21 years. She worked for Media 24, a very well-known journalist there. And she gave me all what was good. She recorded everything, Kaboses and her boss's voice notes. So she sent all of that, what they're doing and planning against me, what they're doing in the country, why the editor is saying, Inge Wasserman says, don't do that, do. So she recorded that, so I've got 468 of those voice notes of Media 24. So I know it's a bunch of crooks, you understand, and they manipulate the news. So that's why God has a way of of actually helping you out. So I went to her husband twice at the gate at near the Flora Clinic. She went into the clinic many times for breakdowns, you know, angst. And I went to her husband and I said to get this woman off me, because she did the same with Matthijs Roots, that's a well-known Afrikaans singer. She did the same with Hannes Miller. She did the same with Raymond, a guy that's... the first date that she invited me to, there was 2 other guys there. She said no, she wanted to see who's the best. She first said, okay, let's have a threesome. I say, I'm not into threesomes, my girl. And so she said, okay, no, I'd rather go with you. You look like a... I think I realize now I just had more money than the other 2. But she went with other 2 and then invited me. But then I started. She's highly intelligent. I enjoyed her company. But 2.5 years, she was my confidant. And I then spoke that word. When she asked me, how do you really feel? You know, tell me how you really feel about the attack against Eureka. I really felt it was unnecessary. Okay? And I was very angry. But luckily, I've got all their voice notes, so there's big claims coming against Media 24. I think they're going to be out of business. Naspers has got Babylon too. They've got nice gardens for people in Cape Town and all that. But I think, you know, once they look at the paper, the Waarheid has already got more listeners than them. So I think it's a paper of the past. So they're not going to be there for long. If they look for jobs, they can come and work for us.
Yes, it's Siyabonga Sithole from the Star. I just want to know, what is your value proposition, your promise to the people of South Africa as we head into the elections? Just maybe sum it up, and then maybe also on the issue of artisanal mining, which maybe you've implemented in the Northern Cape. How is that working, and how do you see it working across the board?
Every single mine in South Africa should be the hands of the ordinary people. Obviously, you can have people with knowledge, leadership and so on, that's been in the industries, but you should not allow a Harry Oppenheimer or a Rupert or a Visa or any other big man in South Africa to have these big shares in the big mining houses. You must remember, my brother, South Africa's got only so many minerals, okay? If you all the time going to ship them out and you don't polish this, there's no polishes left in the diamond industry. In the gold industry, they ship them out. It goes to Zimbabwe, it goes to Uganda. I've spoken to the president of Malawi. He wants me to run the gold refinery there. I've spoken to Sierra Leone. They want me to put up a diamond bourse there. They are open for business. I mean, the DRC is in trouble, but they are totally open for business. South Africa, you walk into the DMR's office, it's cold, because they've already been bought by Rupert or one of the big families. They've been bought. I mean, the bribery cars that they drive, the stuff that they buy for their girlfriends, where is that coming from? It is bribery from the rich and the famous, from the 0.01% or the 0.1%. Yes, paying a bit of taxes, but you know how crafty they are. That's why they were caught in aeroplanes with big amounts of money and stuff like that. So what Ramaphosa has done, I will say immediately, you are free. Why can a man not have cash in his house? What is wrong with that? Are we now a dictatorship? Is this now a communist country? What have happened here? We are supposed to have democracy. I need my money in cash, give it to me in cash. You know? I would suggest to all people in South Africa, go to your bank today and draw everything out of your savings account in 1 cent. Let them be busy and working for 2 weeks. Let them know what working is about in a bank. Okay, my brother, the economy belongs to the people. Take control of your town. Take control of your municipality. We can do the work. We pay the rates and taxes. We can do the work. In your town, do the potholes. Why should national government be responsible for potholes right in front of your house? Who's put it there? Your car. National roads, different story. Put grass there. Cut your grass. Cut your neighbor's grass. Pay the toll fee of 10 cars behind you. Because there's a principle, what you sow, you will reap. There's a principle. Give out money. Our country must spend all the saving crap from Sanlam and all these people. You save for what? For a rainy day. No. Have 2 months of salary in a bank. The rest you spend and buy your girlfriend some stuff so that business can start here. Buy another ring. I see nowadays they've got rings even in their vagina. Buy them rings, buy them jewelry. Women need to shop so that the economy can get going. I know I say things that people don't like, but they do those things and I just notice them. And now just because I notice them as the truth, now suddenly I am the guilty party. It's true. Okay, yes?
Raymond Willemse van Netwerk 24, sir.
Yeah.
I have a few questions. My colleagues also answered some of the questions.
Okay.
Why didn't you stand in the Northern Cape? Because it seems like you have a strong base there.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned that you funded the former president's legal fees.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money have you spent on his legal fees, and are you still?
I don't know. I must ask Dali.
And do you still?
Sometimes it's fetched by other people, so I don't always know where it's going. I need to tell you a good story about that as well. But you can understand something. Diamond business is a cash business, and I can go and look properly at every cent. But in principle, I think my attorney can vouch for 7.5 million for Nkandla, and legal fees initially of about 9 to 10 million. I wasn't aware that the case was brought against the media person. I must be honest, I didn't know that, because I was just going to the Bloemfontein appeals court, and that was dealt with regarding his imprisonment and the objections against that. So initially I wasn't quite aware but I bought the person. When I buy the person, I will go the extra mile for him. Okay. So it's not a lot of money. It is not the 28 million that I know that was owed. But I also think that seeing that the president will be found not guilty on all charges, I think the state will have to refund him all the money. So a lot of that money will come back.
And
I'm not really...
Do you still fund the former president with his legal fees?
As a matter of fact, I didn't recently, because I'm made to understand that he's okay. But I will, Dali phoned me the other day that I had to help another comrade that was really in trouble, and I did that. And I will do that to any person in need, whether they are from the Grab Land, First Land, whether they are Michael the Angel. I will fund whoever is in grave need. I am a Christian. And I am not a fundamentalist. Therefore, you can hear my language is not that of a fundamentalist. I'm a person. I bring my background to the party, but I care for every person on this planet.
And then, what is your comment regarding the invalid signatures? Because I understand that you were taken off 2 of the regional ballots in 2 provinces because the signatures were invalid.
That's total nonsense. It's a discrepancy in the IECs. There are my staff that did it. I wasn't even involved. Let me also be quite frank with you. I initially never expected the signatures. That was something that was, I think they should have brought that to court, because it's unfair towards small parties. To suddenly get 16,000, I think I got by accident 13,000 and something, but it's not necessarily in the right provinces. But we got 1,000, and the real proof, he took it there, Dirk took it there, they checked it, double-checked it, and we went into their system, and they can explain to you just now, but they went into their system, looked at though they were registered, and then got the signature and did it all right. We did everything right, but then the Freedom Front immediately, and it's never happened to other people. I haven't read in the news. It's only Louis. It's only Louis because Media 24 wrote 309 articles, and I'm the most well-known crook in the country.
And you didn't answer my question. Why didn't you stand as a candidate in the Northern Cape?
The Northern Cape, I didn't do that because the MK said to me that they're going to put my mate, Paul Swartboy, in there, and he was on the list, and he was also taken off the list, but I think that was an internal political thing. I need to go and see President Zuma shortly after this meeting or tomorrow, and then go and find out why he wasn't on the MK list. In Namakwaland, it's an ANC area. I did get 3 councillors, but you won't get the main towns like Springbok and so on. And there's quite a few voters, obviously far less than what you would get. Like KwaZulu-Natal is massive. I mean, but I would support the MK. I've been supporting one of the Zamazamas there. It's the only EFF. He only had one T-shirt given to him for the EFF. So I gave him 10,000 Rand for his campaign, and I will give him more because he's working with us, and I like him as a person, and I also believe that the mineral wealth should be in the hands of ordinary people, so it's neither here nor there. White people or my own brothers think that I'm stupid. I'm a businessman. If it makes business sense, then I would support the EFF to get control for the people, because it's all about the people. If I can get it in a different way, in a different approach, like I've been explaining, then I would do it that way. I am not, you can't, it's like, psychology. You bipolar, and now because of that, you must now drink, Prozac. And you do it for 22 years. I've been married to a woman, the one that divorced me, mother of my children, beautiful person. She's bipolar, but she's also ADHD. Now they put them in blocks. The EFF, you can't put in a block. So EFF, they're almost the same as the ANC, almost the same as MK. If you really go and look at what they are, it's the ANC that broke up into 3 different parts, and now our democracy is getting alive. Nothing wrong with that. But in Namaqualand, I think I would have taken Namaqualand, but I've got respect. I respect the king, I respect traditional leaders, and I will not go on their turf as a person. Otherwise, I could have taken the NEF and stand in the local election instead of just funding the operation and being there all the time, almost like Zuma initially did, President Zuma did with the MK. Let's say he could not be the president of the MK. I'm sure he would have still supported the MK all the time.
Then just the last question. I've noticed your slogan is Herbou. Interesting enough, the Freedom Front Plus is also Herstel and Herbou. Why Herbou?
My actual one they didn't use today is Hobo Herbou, a guy from the street. Herbou, and that hopefully in next time they will have that up. The hobo, the guy that was on the street 9 months, has to give ordinary South Africans that is in squatters and on the street hope. Yes, I've had a house, 90 Great North, where I had, after I came from the streets, 131 of those outies, bergies, or whatever you would like to call it, boemelaars. I wrote a book, in fact, From Tramp to Tycoon. And I must just, sometimes in my life I lose the money, then I must put and back. But I will write the book. But for those people after I came, I must be an example. Of that 131, I tried to help. I could only take them from spirits to KWV 10 years. I had no success. Now I rather give money to institutions that can rehabilitate people like Derek Hougaard. Derek Hougaard, he's been working at the Waarheid, not working. He's been on drugs, but and on pills and sleeping tablets. But I've been looking after him since June 2022. Every month, although there's a lot of, I can't get near his girlfriend and so on, and everybody blames me for helping him. And he even phones the Media 24 and say, take me away from Louis because he wants to be taken away. All the Springboks are on drugs. All the Springboks are on drugs. All the rugby players, they are given that as lunchtime. When they arrive in Australia, they are given handfuls of pain pills and drugs. And that's why they make druggies. I've discovered with Derek's situation that all the Springboks, I think that is why Irassi says so much fuck on this new episodes that he's having. He's fucking all the time. I think they're on drugs. But what's happening is the Springbok mates of Derek is SMSing and messaging him. That's why he went to Media 24 and he complained because me and his mother and father trying to get him off it. But then his Springbok and the Northern Bulls, the pharmacists, the doctors, everybody are in this crookery, and they are giving 180 to 300 sleeping tablets a day that he drinks. He drinks himself in coma, so it is just a wonder that he's not dying. And I'm talking about all of the Northern Transvaal rugby players are on drugs. All of them, and the Springboks are treated on drugs. That's the only way they can play the game that is so hard today. Okay, and a lot of them have brain damage, like he's been now in Glenview. I had to pay 180,000 Rand every 2 weeks in Glenview. He's been there 2 months now. Now I've taken him to a farm where he has to work. We've taken off all his hair. He says he is sponsored by this place. I said, "Goof, no more sponsored by any hair. You are on drugs since 2010. Now it is 2020. For 14 years you haven't done work. Now you must work, so we will save his life." He's 40 and we will save his life. Nadine must just come to the fore and start talking the truth. She's lying through her teeth. Ja.
Marizon Kok van Rapport.
Yes.
Ek het twee vrae of 'n tweeledige vraag aan.
Julle het my al so baie gevra, die twee sal nie saak maak.
Ja, inderdaad.
Ja.
Ek wonder hoekom jy op jou eie staan as independent en nie vir MK nie.
Ek het die rede gegee. Daar's baie Afrikaners in hierdie spesifieke provinsie wat ek nie dink gereed is om vir hulle sou as hulle breins gehad het vir die MK gestem het, maar baie mense is geïndoktrineer deur AfriForum en deur hulle kerke, die NG Kerk, al die tradisionele mense, die ouens wat besprinkel. Hulle sukkel om wakker te word en kerk speel. Dit is daai mense wat nie verstaan dat ons is in 'n nuwe Suid-Afrika met nuwe reëls. You in Africa hier. And you're now acting as though ons moet nog die osse waar, die TV wessels en ek dink Willem Petzer met al sy, kyk Willem Petzer, 400,000 volgelinge, ou tannies met natbroeke. Hulle verstaan nie wat in Suid-Afrika moet gebeur nie. Maar 'n 27-jarige laaitie stuur die mense in die afgrond in. Wat hulle nie weet nie, ek het hulle gaan red uit Groblersdal. Al 4, nie die ou oom nie, al 4. Ek en Devin is grootmaats, maar die ander 3, hulle dink ek is 'n vark. Want dit is mos nou die vyandgroepe en almal het nou nonsens begin praat aan my oor Rapport se 309 artikels. So hulle glo die narratief. Maar die truth is like heeltemal anders. So die Afrikaners wat in Waterkloof bly, daar's van hulle wat ek geswaai het. En wat elke dag swaai, wat gaan glo dat ons in 'n nuwe bedeling is, waar ons relevant moet wees. Ons kan nie meer die blerrie ou vlaar rond swaai nie. Ons kan dit nie meer doen nie. Ons kan nie meer swart maande hou en dit swaai na die boere. Dis nie net die blanke boere wat vermoor word nie. Dis almal van ons wat deel met misdaad. En daai hele narratief moet geswaai word. En ek glo in die provinsies waar ek is, sal ek in die klein dorpies met die tannies gaan praat en sê, Tannie, haal daai natbroeke uit, hou op vir Willem Petzer met die moesies kyk, hy het nog nie eens 'n girl nie, hy het nog nooit gevry nie, hy weet nie eens wat 'n French kies is nie. So, hy was nog nie in 'n hoerhuis nie. Ek wil hom eendag net na 'n goeie hoerhuis toe vat, dat hy verstaan waaroor die lewe gaan.
So, wil jy parlement toe gaan vir die Afrikaners spesifiek, as jy sê die Afrikaners?
Ek veg vir die Afrikaners. Die Afrikaners glo dit, die boere. Die Afrikaners is 'n ander nasie. Ek veg vir die boere, die opregte boere, die boere wat werklik geestelik is, die boere wat werklik geweet dat die Zulu en die Xhosa en die Ndebele en die Sotho en almal het nog altyd onderhandel vir grond waarop hulle wou wees. Hierdie storie dat ons bloedrivier moet ons nou vir die Here dankie sê dat ons ander mense vrek gemaak het en ons geloof God elke 16de moet end kry. Ons moet vrede hê, solank as wat ons vashou aan heilige koeie en nie God se gees, we don't experience his Holy Spirit now in our lives, fresh bread that he's going to share with us today. How can we live as a responsible citizen in South Africa? And one of those things would be to put the mineral wealth in the hands of ordinary people, even if you make mistakes along the way, like I'm making, because it's very difficult to do it. It's very difficult to be a maverick changing the reality and changing the narrative. Maar as 'n moerse lot Afrikaners wat my wel volg. En Pieter gaan 'n skrik kry. Hy gaan 'n skrik kry. Hy moes daai dag, toe ek met my vliegtuigie gevlieg het Appington toe en nice was, moes hy nie na Kolonel de Tooy toe oorgeloop het nie, want ek het al hulle bosberade betaal. Ek het al Stenger se bosberade betaal. Ek leer die mannetjies skiet en ek help hulle om hulle self te verdedig. If the shit hits the fan in South Africa, because it's always a possibility. As die Afrikaners so harde hart bly en hulle wil nie onderhandel nie, then there's only one thing. Julius is going to do what he says. Ek het nou mooi geluister na julle, maar julle gun nie vir ons mense ook 'n goeie lewe nie. Now I'm going to get over your wall and I'm going to kill you. So that is still a possibility. And the Afrikaners, and God showed me that. Now when I say that, people immediately say, how can God show you that? Jy sê moer en donder en bliksem. God speaks to people that murdered. And he speaks to prophets in their country. And I'm not saying that I am. I'm just saying I had a specific spiritual experience where I saw this happening and I reacted to that. And now I can't go back on that road. I heard what I heard. En Desi het die opnames, ek moet dit een keer vir Media 24, dat jy daai opnames luister, in my slaap het ek het gepraat. En sy is 100% eerlik. Jy kan nog sê, ek is 'n streetwise lady. Ek het aan die een butcher, het ek wors gaan vat, dan verkoop ek dit aan die ander, en vat ek dit terug, om 6 mense op straat te versorg. Ek is streetwise, ja. Maar daai streetwise beteken nie dat die Here nie 'n regheid hou met 'n krom stok, soos ek kan slaan nie. So, daar's baie Afrikaners wat my sal volg, maar miskien is ek 'n bietjie voor my tyd. Dit mag wees dat die behoudende Afrikaner, wat deur Calvin gebreinspoel is, en hy het 'n probleem. Hy kan nog nie vrede maak. Jy moet die goed sien wat ek hoor. Hulle stuur vir my die vreeslikste boodskappe gister op die boeregroep. Ek is besig om die boereboek te versprei, waar ek ons geskiedenis van Dr. Letts, nogal 'n boeremaglid, versprei. Ek versprei dit op my onkoste, 200 op 'n slag, dat mense kan verstaan hoekom sukkel die Afrikaner en die boer onderling. Hoekom sukkel hulle met basiese goed soos die begrip van rekonsiliasie? Die geskiedenis kan homself nie herhaal nie. As ons weer daar's Rusland nou in isolasie. Kyk wat word van mense. Die diamantprys val 75% van die isolasie van Rusland tot vandag toe. Dit plaas die hele mark. Goudprys gaan deur die ceiling, maar die goed waarmee ons moet handel dryf, die goed wat blue sky het, is ons in die moeilikheid. So ons kan nie weer Magersfontein oor Magersfontein nie. Ons kan nie AP meer nie.
Dink jy dit kan dalk 'n effek hê op die mense? Hoeveelheid Afrikaners wat vir jou stem, dat daar soveel van hulle is wat sê jy skuld hulle geld?
Omtrent, dit is so, maar dan moet hulle kontrakte gaan kyk, en wat ek gesê het van die begin af, ek doen net hoë risiko besigheid, 10%. Kyk, daar is hoerkinders onder die Afrikaners, baie. Ek sou sê 10% van die Afrikaners is hoerkinders.
Van die wat nog oor is in die land of die wat gegaan het?
Nee, die meeste hoerkinders het agtergebly. Kyk, die beter room, dit gebeur altyd so. Die room van die volk waai. Hulle die skills, hulle die breins, hulle die goed. En as 'n ouer mense soos ek, wat sê, ag volk, ek gaan nie waai nie, die land is lekker, ek like die girls, ek like boeremeisies vry. Boeremeisies vry net lekker. Ek weet nie of jy al, ek het 'n Italianer gevry. Hulle, weet jy, daar's fout met hulle tande. Hulle hoek verkeerd. Jy draai die kant toe, hulle draai daai kant toe. En dan as jy nou nog verder wil gaan, hulle hop verkeerd. Hulle hop heeltemal verkeerd. En dan hop ek af en dan, dis moeilik, jy weet. So wat ek bedoel is, die Afrikaners het baie om te leer. En die Afrikaners wat oorgebly het nog nie gereis nie. Jy vra hulle, waar bly jy? Jy bly in Bloemfontein. Was jy al in die Wildtuin? Nee. Was jy in die Kaap? Nee. Regtig, gaan vind uit in dorpies. Mense bly in sulke klein dorpies, hulle het nog niks anders gesien nie. So die Afrikaner wat oor see was, dink anders, hy dink meer liberaal, hy verstaan hoe die wêreld werk. Dit kan nie net in 'n primitiewe kleur en rasgebaseerde politiek bedryf word nie, hulle verstaan daai goed. En daai mense begin wakker skrik, en dan ook regse mense. Maar skuldgeld is 'n narratief wat Jana geskep het. Hulle het my in 'n ex-party hofsaak omkant gevang, dis 'n maatskappy waarmee ek 14 maande al nie meer besigheid dryf nie. Ek myn duisende diamante intussen tyd, ek moet net 'n regverdige regter kry. Regter Judge het vir my gebel deur die premier van die Noordwes en die vorige premier en van die Zuma's en vir my gesê, gee 20 miljoen rand, dan gaan ons jou nie likwideer nie. Hulle het in die Protea Hotel gesit in Mafeking, ek gaan vir julle die datum, ek het die stemboodskap, het alles. So Mafeking is gecompromise, net soos wat regter Bertelsmann was. Hier is nie regverdig, hulle kyk nie eers na die kontrak nie, hulle kyk nie eers na die ooreenkoms wat tussen ons is, en hulle kyk nie na my kommunikasie met die mense nie. Ons doen hoë risiko. 10% van jou geld, nie meer nie. Die res gaan Sanlam toe en banke toe en so aan. 10%, ek sê dit van dag 1 af. Van die mense wat nie eerlik is nie, kom nou met storieetjies. 10%. So ek skuld nie mense geld nie. Weet jy wat, daar's 'n vrou wat 239 van die aansoekers, sy 300, ek het nou nie 'n parallax fout nie, ek het 'n kontaminasie gepleeg of wat ook al. 329.000 het hierdie vrou van Rustenburg gaan kyk, een van die 11 aansoekers. 309, sy het 11.7 miljoen uitgekry alreeds. Maar sy moet nog 7 miljoen kry van dit wat vas is. Sy gaan vra vir likwidasie. Die likwidasiebedryf, die likwidateurs hand hierdie mense soos wat hulle nou doen vir 3-4 maande voor die tyd. En ek gaan deur advokaat Satner wat invlieg hierdie likwidasiebedryf in sy maai stuur en al hierdie korrupsie wat ek natuurlik heeltyd opgeneem het. Meester van die Hooggeregshof, die advokate, hoekom is Morgan ingestuur van hier af, van Sandton af soontoe, omdat sy die bedrog gepleeg het. Ek was by Supra op hulle plek, ek was oral, ek het gaan sit daar en ek het gesê nee vir 'n bribe vir 20 miljoen. Weet jy hoe moeilik was dit? Om nee te sê en ek weet daar gaan nie voorlopige likwidasie wees nie. Daai voorlopige likwidasie is by my plaas afgelewer waar ek in 2015 laas was. Nie eers meer in my plaas nie. Maar hierdie ex-parte ding, dan hardloop hy teen jou en dan begin die likwidateurs klaar afbreek. Kom met Bella klaar was in guns, 'n lightie, ek bedoel, goeie nou het hy nog nooit cowboys en crooks ontleer nie. Hy's vieslike goed in die likwidasiebedryf. En ek gaan bewys, 'n man wat 144.000 hektaar is, niemand gaan geld verloor met Liebenberg nie. Maar as jy meer as 10% ingesit het, en jy het jou hond en jou kat en jou ma en jou Maltese poedel in my besigheid gesit, terwyl ek skree, moenie plak papiertjies op my kop, skryf dit in 'n kontrak en 'n hof kyk nie eers na 'n kontrak nie, then you know they bought. En dit bring my by die punt van Zondo, jy's 'n kroek. You should never have sat there in front of Zuma. Zuma is a man, you're a mouse. Why did you sit there? You were number 19 on the list of candidates and they took you down there and now Ramaphosa has got you firmly in his grip. You're a crook. You should go. Because you can see in the fish rots from its head. Zondo is a crook, and so the whole legal system is becoming corrupt. And everybody knows that and nobody talks about it. They even want to jail you when you say that. Okay, guys, thank you. Another one. Yes. Yes.
Amanda from News 24.
Yes.
I just want to know if you're funding MK or helping them to...
I will always fund everybody that needs help. If I see that MK hasn't got enough posters out and T-shirts, I sat at Groblersdal because there was going to be a big protest the next day with the EFF. I went and I saw Ali from the EFF for 2 hours. And I said, Ali, we cannot have this protest. This is going to become dangerous. Die boere raak moeilik. And I negotiated with Ali, and Ali stopped the protest. There was not one of the EFF protest there. We can negotiate with one another, and we can help one another to have... We are actually only now going into a peaceful transition. We haven't done it properly in 1994. We lied to one another. Ons was te versigtig. Now the real transition is taking place.
How much have you given MK for its campaign?
I don't know. You know, I don't count money. I must be honest with you. I give away 9, if I've got 10 rand with me, I give 9 rand away. So every single time I enter my estate, I give all the security 200 rand, and when I go to the shop, I give them 200 rand again, and when I go to another appointment, I give them 200 rand again. I never count. Maybe Daisy counts. She's got a book and she writes, but I never count money because I'm only copper. I'm only giving money from God that He gives me. from my right hand to my left hand. So in between, I sometimes don't know what is happening. I'm not an accountant. Accountants cannot make money. They are selling their hours. I don't sell my hours. I sell my brain. And in between my ears, I've got a lot of money. Even if I don't have money in the bank tomorrow morning, I'll have 100 million. I came from the street. Within 8 months, I had 40 million in my savings account. I booked into a 5-star hotel without a card and without money. Go and look at the Table Bay Hotel, without a card and without money, with only the clothing. And I went to concierge 11 o'clock at night, and I say, fly 15 people from my previous work at Southern. I want to tell them there's diamonds in the sea. The next day I had 3.6 million in checks to go and buy boats. But then I got to the bank and I didn't have an ID because I was on the street. And my previous girlfriends, you know, when girlfriends get their Helen, they burn everything. They burn your books, they burn your albums. It's like my history was wiped out. So I didn't have an ID book, and I pleaded with the woman, and I threw the checks there, and she checked the checks, and I said, I'm staying in room 444. You must just give a 5-star hotel. You must give the address, room 444. I'm staying there. And she phoned, room 444, is Liebenberg staying there? She gave me an account. And since then, I only had that ABSA account. I don't like ABSA, but I don't like banks. You don't need a bank. You don't need a bank. You can just have gold, silver, and diamonds. That's all you need. That's why they're struggling to get it from me. How can they get it? It's under the ground, man.
Lastly, sir, you made a very serious allegation or damning allegation against the president, accusing him of setting up the Amazulu King. Do you have proof for what you've said, especially the stuff you said about drugs and alcohol? It's quite a serious thing to say without giving proof for all these things that you're saying today.
I've done statistics in my second year in my master's degree at UNISA. I didn't complete the master's degree in business leadership, the SBL campus. Now, one of the things we've learned is deviation of the mean. So you've got a parabool, as we say in Afrikaans. It's got nothing to do with a woman's sex. A parabool is something that looks like that. So what you do is you look at that and you see how near to the truth is somebody. So here's the king. He's not on drugs. He's clean. So Ramaphosa fights with MK and with Buthelezi. Buthelezi and Ramaphosa and Zuma doesn't want him to go to the Soccer World Cup because they know he can be influenced and this and that, and the security was an issue. His security wasn't tight. So they tried to convince, but behind Buthelezi's back and Zuma's back, he went and he arranged for the Zulu King to go to the Soccer World Cup. And he went. And you can see now, since then, what happened to the Zulu King. What happened when I walked in, Motsepe walks out, I go in. He's clean. He's clean. He's clean. I give him some money for the salaries, for his people and whatever, in a whiskey box. Okay? Yeah, sometimes you have to give a whiskey and some money. You understand? So, and he goes to this girlfriend in his bathroom, and he comes back and he's zonked out, totally zonked out after Motsepe was there. Why? He was clean. Why is he staying in Ballito? Why did I have to help his staff? Because the Premier stopped the pay. The Premier stopped the pay of the office. The lady sat and cried with me in Durban because they didn't get pay. The Premier stopped it. So there was total manipulation, and the Zulu King was talking about KwaZulu-Natal must be on its own, with their own money, with their own economy. That is what we were talking about. The next moment, this happened to the Zulu King, and then all the trouble with his brothers, and all the videos that came out of the naked women, and all this rubbish came out, because they put him on drugs. 1 + 1 is 2. Do you have videos? Why don't you, Network 24 has a problem with the truth. Why don't you place the videos of the Zulu King, sleeping with various women because he's been put up with drugs and he doesn't even know who he's sleeping with? Why? Why is the truth so sacred that it must be protected with a lie? The truth is the truth. And I came close enough to understand what is happening. Nobody wants to believe that Ramaphosa is hurting people and is manipulating and Mabuza. Hey, All the proof was there what Mabuza was doing in Mpumalanga. Nobody wants to believe it. But when the thing for me is, when Network 24 sees the truth, you will come, you will see, okay, that man was killed. Maybe he's just sleeping a bit. This is Network 24. There's another man standing up, and I call a spade a spade. And I'm not afraid because they don't pay my salary. And even if they kill me, I'm 60. I've lived. What the hell? So I'm not afraid to go and sit with Paul Mashatile in his house and talk about these things. Talk about these things straight. What is going to happen? The best that can happen at this stage is Mashatile maybe becoming the president, because if the ANC, everybody talks about the ANC must get less than 50%. If the ANC gets less than 50%, we're going to have riots in this country like we've never seen before. You need stability. It would be great if the ANC gets close to 50%. Even if the old man says that he wants to have a 2/3 majority, they can rather do it later. If the ANC gets less than 50%, we're going to have war. Because the ANC is not going to accept this election if they get less than this, or if they can't go into a proper, what do you call it, alliance. But the MK, ANC, and EFF alliance would be the best move for them to make. And then you've got checks and balances, because these guys don't like one another. So they will make sure when the one wants to spend money, says, no, not there, let's get it here. And then hopefully the Afrikaner that still has the money, believe it or not, can play a role, but not the corruption that goes on between Afrikaners and the tenderpreneurs and the fronting and the BE nonsense that never gets down to the real people. 54% of South Africa is still living below the breadline. 60% of people between 18 and 25, we all know the stats, do not have work. Why? Corruption. Corruption between the whiteys that has got a lot of money, the top companies, and giving all their mates the 50% shares, and then they go and sell it immediately like Motsepe has done with Sanlam. Sanlam has never been the same. Sanlam is destroyed because of Motsepe. Destroyed. Because what's the value that he added to Sanlam after he got all those shares? So BEE is not working because it's not going down to the people that really need it, and everybody in South Africa knows that. And I'm just controversial, so I'm willing to say these things. But go and test it. Go and test the truth about this. I'm not saying the lie. Go and test the truth. Everything I say is true because I've been there. I've been there. I've seen. I've been with the king. I've been with President Zuma. I've seen. I've been with all these ministers came to me. Both Lindiwe's, all these ministers, they came to me, and they all talk the same thing. They're just afraid of Ramaphosa. They're just afraid. But they know it's all wrong. They know that this whole system is sick, and the head of the snake must be cut. If I was Ramaphosa, I would resign today and stop wasting time. We need democracy. Okay. So yes, I'm going to be in Parliament. I will get enough votes. And I will get it from all sorts of people, from black people, brown people. The Cape Coloured community in Cape Town wanted to work with me as well. They've beaten Mackenzie, but I wasn't quick enough to get all the signatures in all the provinces. I must be honest, I was too busy. I didn't even realize that we had to have signatures. Okay, it was wrong. I think we still have to take this to the Concord, this whole signature business. This is not helping democracy. Okay, I know I sound angry. I'm not angry. I actually feel that we should call a spade, and without fear, we must say what is the truth. Thank you so much. Is there anything else?
Thank you, Louis. That was fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to join us for a sip of champagne. Take my details, please. You can contact me with questions. I am available 24 hours a day. Thank you. We will have champagne in the foyer in front here, so you are more than welcome.